Welcome back to my Super Metroid 100% item collection rate guide and walkthrough with the bomb acquired in the last installment from that wonderful little boss. We're now going to go ahead and venture into Brinstar, which I promise you will be the real deal since that one was Imposter Brinstar. Don't you get any smart ass comments. Anyway, we're going to run down the slope and collect probably your first likely real energy tank. It's just right there, ready for taking. I will be doing some sequence breaks, although some of them will involve the bomb jump, which might be a little bit hard at first, but I promise you they won't be anything too technical. I know I mentioned I was going to go for anything super elaborate, but I know there's a very popular speedrunning trick, particularly involving the morph ball and getting a certain speed. I'm not very good at that. I tried doing it. I've seen people do it on runs all the time, and you will not be seeing that at all, so as far as progress has gone, there will at least be 2 videos dedicated to just item cleanup, since I want to make sure that y'all are going to be prepared for one of the bosses coming up, who is actually pretty fucking tricky, especially on a first run. But now, we're entering the wonderful world of Brinstar, which, surprisingly, there was a remix of this song in Metroid Prime 2's multiplayer mode, which people probably only gave a shit about just because of that song, but apparently people like Someone Call Me Johnny mention how just lackluster the multiplayer mode is, but I'm not getting into that bullshit. You can feel however he wants, but it's still probably the best we're going to get in terms of actual playable Metroid games. But seriously, why is Metroid like the only game where people get pissed off for having a multiplayer mode? Like, a lot of games these days have pointless multiplayer modes, yet Metroid is the one exception. Like, get out of here. Anyway, we will be doing a sequence break in a little bit, although I think that might be in the next installment since I wasn't quite sure how to get at the time. But first item we need to get, which is actually very surprisingly missable actually, is the charge beam, and of course this missile, which is of course ripe for the taking. I meant to say that last time, but whatever. But you do want to get the charge beam. This is actually pretty useful, and we will be utilizing its superior tech in certain areas. Particularly if you do a somersault while charging, you'll do like a pseudo screw attack where you can kill an enemy in the same way as the screw attack. Although it will immediately cancel your charge after you kill an enemy, whether you intentionally do it or not, so be careful. We will be seeing in just a second. Yeah, when you're flashing yellow, that means you will be able to kill an enemy for that. We'll be using that a little early on, since we're not quite powerful yet, but after a couple of videos we will be, since this game is very surprisingly kind of easy to break. Like, its design is so simplistic, and yet you do a lot of crazy shit if you know where to go. There is a save station here if you want to save before Spore spawn, who we'll be taking on in this video, but honestly, it's not even really a hard fight. In fact, it's probably one of my least favorite fights in the game, simply because how fucking boring it is. Like, it's not difficult, it's not tedious, well, maybe a little tedious, but, you know, it's just so fucking pointless that, yeah, you could do that sequence break I mentioned with the morph ball and get super missiles early, but assuming you don't know how to do that, like I'm not able to do it, like, assuming you're playing this for the first time, it's just fucking crap. I didn't realize how much strategy, just fucking sit in a corner, you know, fuck, what was that line from, that movie that movie that a lot of people liked, but the actor passed away? No one puts baby in the corner? Well, we're gonna have to put baby in corner, because, we're gonna have to, because this fight is fucking
boring! What? Boring! What? Boring!
First things first, make sure you shoot those little pods or whatever, and go put baby in corner. Now, for the rest of this fight, you just want to wait for the Spore spawn to open its spores, I guess, and just lob missiles. Now, if you're fast enough, you can actually shoot more than one, but this takes quite a good amount of missiles in order to go down, surprisingly. It is surprisingly durable. It's kind of like that Sonic the Hedgehog fight from, well, Sonic the Hedgehog, except this is a lot more
boring!
But yeah, I can't stress how fucking
boring
this is. Like, seriously, there is no strategy needed. You could probably duck in the middle, but if you don't want to get hit by those little spores or whatever, just put baby in a corner and wait for Spore itself to open and just lob missiles at it until it's dead. This is definitely not the highlight of Super Metroid, if I'm being honest. There is no way in fuck will ever be salvageable. It's also pretty fucking forgettable too. It is just a fucking boss with one testicle that's just moving left and right with surprisingly ominous music, but this fight is so
boring
that it puts me to sleep. When it starts getting faster though, the fight's almost done, and much like in classic video games, the boss just can change color when you're almost killed it, so that's pretty decent design, but seriously, this fight is so
boring.
It's not even funny. But okay, now it's going a little faster. It's picking up a little bit of speed. Once it starts to get like really shit, not shit, but like the bad kind of shit, like when you take a shit, but it's like really black, the type that's not good for your body, you know this boss is almost dead. But since this fight is so
boring,
I'm going to go ahead and mention something. You notice there's a green door down there? That is a type of door that can only be opened by a super missile. And I will actually be coming back to open this, even though it's really not necessary, since you never have to go through here ever again. But, you know, if you ever go through for some reason, if you don't have any super missiles, then, well, you're fucked. But yeah, this boss is fucking
boring.
You do thankfully get one of the most powerful items probably in the game, and that is the super missile. But we'll talk a little bit more about that once we take care of this
boring
fight. But there we go, it's dead. You got past probably one of the most
boring
parts of this fight, and we'll never speak of it again. Rotten hell, you dumb, greedy, dumb bastard. Anyway, now that we've taken care of the boss, we're going to go ahead and grab our missile, go down the pipe a la Super Mario Brothers, and we'll fucking around by doing the morph ball. It actually stops your descent, which is pretty interesting, actually. I don't know how the fuck it's supposed to work, but whatever. Just fucking around, just how fucking
boring
fight is. I had to wake myself to, honestly. I almost went to sleep during that fight. It's so fucking
boring.
Okay, I promise that's the last time I use that. I'm sorry. That meme is so fucking funny. But anyway, we got the super missile. These can be used to kill a lot of enemies, and even some of the bigger baddies, which we'll be definitely doing later on. But you also need these in order to open the green doors. Now, you can use the super missiles on the red doors, and you don't have to worry about spending 5 missiles, but I would definitely recommend holding off on those if you're going to be using them a lot, because they are kind of rare, although drops of them are not too bad right now, so that's good. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and save, because that fight was, we definitely don't want to do that shit all over again, and I do believe in the next installment, which will be going after Kraid, I will be collecting a couple other items that I missed, because I'm like, wait a minute, are there supposed to be other items I'm getting? Which I know I'm not getting every single little thing right as I come. Like, I only look up a guide for, like, certain parts of this just to see what routes I can plan ahead of time. Like, I don't know. I know people, oh, if you're using a guide for other people, what the fuck's the point of making a guide? Well, it's, I want to make sure I have, like, a route that, like, anyone can use so that, you know, if they want to beat this game and say, hey, I beat Super Metroid on Switch because it's on there, I want to play Dread. Well, I hope this will be a helpful video about having to go into super elaborate speedrunning tricks that require, like, 1-frame links and shit, and, like, that other speedrun with utilizing the morph ball to get to Super Missile Zori, which if you can do that, then, you know, you're pretty much all set, but, you know, not everyone's gonna fucking do that. I will be utilizing some tricks again, but nothing super complicated that anyone can do. Maybe some might be considered complicated, but I do get them just a little earlier just to make things a little easier, I guess. Although, in those sections, I'm going to have to trim it down a bit, since there are going to be parts in the guide where I do a lot of fuck-ups. Like, I'll elaborate a little bit more, but there is, like, sections where I'm, oh, but in case you can't tell what I'm doing, I'm actually refilling my energy so that when I prepare for the next part, I'll be full. There are actually stations where actually fill up your regular missiles and energy, although they're not as common as you may think, and only the ship that you landed on Zebes with will fill up your power bombs and the rest of your shit, so keep that in mind. But yes, in the next installment, we're going to go ahead and continue into the lower Brinstar and fight the biggest boy on the planet who keeps getting reused in every fucking game ever made, Kraid. But we'll talk about a little bit more of that later. But anyway, thanks for watching, and you take care.